Thank you everyone so far who has joined this afternoon's webinar. My name is Angelica Ojinaka and I am the Projects Officer at African Women Australia. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we are all meeting on today. For myself, it's the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Darug Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend my respects to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who will be joining us or listening to the recording of this webinar later on. Thank you very much all who are attending. African Women Australia is really excited to hold this webinar for you on job opportunities and courses at TAFE Digital, as well as the opportunities that are available through the multicultural services at TAFE as well. African Women Australia is focused on raising the voices and profile of African women across the country. And our mission is to ensure that the voices and lived experiences of African women and their descendants are centred and heard. This is central to national conversations that impact and have significance for Africans in Australia. Joining us for this webinar, I'm very excited to introduce staff members of TAFE Digital Multicultural. We have Jane Anderson, Michelle Sue, and Michelle Lamont. They will be giving a presentation today, and during the presentation, you'll be able to ask questions in the question and answer section at the bottom of the screen in the Zoom webinar. If you have anything specific that you'd like to share as well, you can use the chat function. Otherwise, just use the Q&A box if you would like to ask a specific question. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Jane, who will be presenting the presentation.
Thank you so much, Angelica. That was a very warm welcome. I also would like to pay my respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples across the many lands that we're meeting virtually today, and pay that respect to leaders past, present and emerging. My name's Jane Anderson. Thank you everybody so much for joining us today. It's really lovely to have you with us. And thank you, Angelica, for making this opportunity possible. Now you can see on this very first slide that my name's there, Jane Anderson, but there's also my colleague's name, Ada Tabbett. So Ada is the person who is usually in this role, and I work in a different region. So very often in the future, Ada would be the person who will continue to support you with anything that you need. I've been working in TAFE quite a number of years and in several different areas, and my specialist area at the moment is multicultural community engagement. So I'm going to present to you some of the activities and services that we have at TAFE Digital. Now you may already be aware of TAFE New South Wales, which is our whole entity. So TAFE Digital is our specialist online learning expertise area, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. Except my PowerPoint has got stuck. Excuse me, please. I do apologize. I went to move my PowerPoint and it didn't want to move. There. I'm hoping you can still see that. So TAFE New South Wales Digital is
Jane,
yeah.
The presentation, we can't see the slides.
Oh dear. We did have a practice run through as well, didn't we, Angelica? So
that's all good.
Very frustrating. I do apologize. So are you seeing anything at the moment?
Currently not at the moment.
Currently not. No. Right. Okay, let's have another go. Now?
Yes, we can see
Yeah.
the slides now.
Yeah, I think you're still seeing some down the side too. So my apologies that
Yes.
we're not on full screen, but I think um, this will work for us. Yes, so TAFE New South Wales Digital, TAFE Digital is the largest provider of online education and training in Australia. And really, our courses are designed so that you can study whenever and wherever suits you. Yeah. One of our key focuses is making sure that we support students and learners from every category of our communities. So that includes culturally and linguistically diverse learners, and also people who have entered Australia via humanitarian means, people who are refugees, and people who may be asylum seekers. The type of services that we can provide in relation to courses and learning are academic pathways, um, deciding which course and perhaps which even career that you would like to consider. We can also advise on multicultural and our own TAFE New South Wales policies. We are able to guide you with translation, interpreting, and bilingual services. And if you hold overseas qualifications, we're able to validate and recognize those qualifications. And we're also able to give guidance on the study rights for people who may be temporary residents. Throughout New South Wales, we engage with culturally and linguistically diverse communities. And what we want to do is to enhance everybody's awareness and understanding of what we're able to provide, the type of learning, the type of support services. We also want to hear very much from our communities about new initiatives, how they're received, what sort of programs, how our policies and plans are actually having an impact and what benefits we can see from them. So we like to also be able to feed up to our decision makers and our managers about new trends in our communities that might guide us on how we set about providing appropriate and effective learning online. So it's even, even more thanks to Angelica for arranging this, because I hope it will open the doors to you telling us more about what your needs are, as well as us being able to explain what we currently have. So TAFE New South Wales Digital, we've got around about 400 staff, a lot of really highly skilled specialists, a lot of subject matter experts. So all the teachers are experts in their own industry and have worked in their own industry. We'll look at some of the particular course areas that you might be interested in a couple of slides. We provide a program called the Adult Migrant English Program, often referred to as AMEP. So for people who are coming to live in Australia, where their first language is not English, then we can provide 510 hours of English language. And TAFE Digital holds the contract, which is an Australian federal government contract, holds the contract for the whole of Australia. So we can work across anywhere in Australia on that particular program. We also offer foundation skills courses So people who may still be wanting to uh, uh, strengthen their English and who may be interested in preparing for work and other vocational training, and we can do that as a fee-free basis. We also have specialists in disability support. So for any of our learners who have a learning disability or any type of disability, we're able to offer some really, really targeted support to make sure that those learners can be successful in their learning. We'll be looking at this program tomorrow in far greater detail. So tomorrow I will have a teacher joining me who teaches on this program. This is called the Skilled Migrant Employment Program. And I will have a teacher and also we're hoping a couple of our current participants. And this really is all about supporting newly arrived migrants to Australia in gaining employment. We're fully aware that many migrants, it's a really high priority for them. They're very keen to enter the Australian workforce. And of course, the systems are often quite different. There's certain ways of preparing for interviews here. We want to talk about ways that we can network and build up professional associations. And all of that is covered in the Skilled Migrant Employment Program. But we'll talk about that in a lot more detail tomorrow. So for any learners who are wanting to strengthen English language skills, we have a range of courses from intermediate. So intermediate English courses, again, fee-free. So certificate 2. And then we have more advanced courses from certificate 3. Again, that is fee-free. For people who are at a certain level in English and who want to study at university, we also have a certificate 4 in English for academic purposes. There may be a fee connected with that particular course. But that really is a very strong foundation for anybody who wants to study at an Australian university, and it combines how to structure essays and prepares for note taking and a whole range of study skills so that people can feel really confident going into university academic study, if that's the pathway they want to take. Where we have students enrolled in our courses, any of our courses, we can also provide additional English language support if that's going to be helpful and if that's a gap. So that's an additional service that we can provide. One of our specialist courses that is targeted for new migrants is volunteering in community services. Again, we're aware that new migrants often do volunteer work, that new migrants often can use volunteer work as a pathway to employment. So this is a course that is structured to support people working in volunteer services with community organisations. And that's a 12-week course. So supporting you as you learn with fully subsidised training. So smart and skilled is the term that we hear. That's the government sponsored courses and qualifications. and that applies to people who meet the eligibility criteria. So, in briefly, who can qualify for that subsidy? People need to be either living or working in New South Wales, and then either be an Australian citizen or meet the criteria of being an Australian permanent resident. Humanitarian visa holder or asylum seeker visa holders are usually usually eligible. We need to get into the detail and be be aware of which particular visa category, but we will support that process wherever we possibly can. A New Zealand citizen, and also people need to be 15 years or older and no longer a school student, so have left the school system. Here are some of the popular courses that we find people are attracted to. So accounting and financial services, IT, always a need for IT. And in fact, we've got some employment skills gaps there. So that can often be a really good employment pathway. Management, business administration services, human resources, children's services, and there are some great pathways if you want to study children's services all the way through to degree level qualifications. Community services, so if that's an area that attracts you, we've of course got that course that I mentioned before, the volunteering in community services course. Tourism and hospitality, property services, so again a very popular area and one that is certainly going to stay with us. So any services relating to real estate, either selling or managing property. Aged care, continuing to again grow. You're probably aware that Australia is an aging demographic, and we do have gaps in providing appropriate services for our aging, culturally and linguistically diverse communities. So that again is another area very worth considering for employment. Dental assisting, property services, building and construction, and marketing. So we find that all those particular industry areas continue to be strong sources of employment. So when we think about studying at TAFE Digital, it can suit so many learners. If we think about people's personal circumstances, some people have caring responsibilities. That could be children or it could be older family members, where it's simply not possible to leave and go every week to a campus for study. So online study means that there's that flexibility. Some people with a disability may prefer to study online. And again, with the support that we are able to provide, that can be a very, very viable alternative. We may have people who work shifts. So if you're working one shift one week and a different shift another week, it makes it extremely difficult to fit study around a schedule like that. So shift workers can find that online study can really be perfect for them. We have in Australia quite a number of fly-in, fly-out, where people are working in the mines, and again, people who are fly-in, fly-out workers can pick up the study to suit them. So you can enroll anytime throughout the year. We're not tied to term and semester dates in the same way that many courses are. Your learning is very often about you as an individual, and you can control the pace at which you learn. So if you prefer to learn more quickly, then your teachers will support you to progress more quickly through a course. If, on the other hand, you have commitments and you want to take your time a little bit more slowly, again, you can have that flexibility. So we have over 100,000 enrollments altogether, which is such a big number. I always look at that and think, my goodness, that is an awful lot of learners. But you can be really well assured that we have some fantastic teachers and support staff. As you've seen, we've got a really wide range of industry relevant courses, and we've also got a lot of experience in this. We have been providing distance learning, as we perhaps used to term this learning before. We've been providing learning by distance for over 100 years. So before we were all online and Zooming everywhere, we were actually sending out physical packages of paper, and learners used to complete their learning packages, their paper packages, and then send them back. So of course, a lot slower process. And whether you are learning online or whether you're learning on a campus, it's the same qualification and it's the same high quality and standard of teaching and support. So to talk a little bit about the type of support in the online environment, every learner will have a portal to a personalized learning place. So that's like your online campus. Every learner can have a personalized training plan. So that will automatically indicate to you when your assessments are due. You can gain access to your learning resources, your assessments, your course progress, and any communications from your teachers. Again, one of the other benefits of online learning is that you have the flexibility to review material. So it's not about going into a classroom situation and having the material presented to you once. You have that capacity to go and review the material again, if that's what you want to do. Your assessments will be mainly submitted online, and you will also get that feedback to you returned online. It's a way that you can contact your teachers as well, and your teachers will reach out to you. If for any reason they don't hear from you for a short while, they will reach out to you and ask where they can give that support. Now, this is one of our specialist programs that we have developed this year, and I thought you might be interested in it because it does target women. And that we also know that many migrants are also extremely keen to establish their own businesses and have in fact often run their own businesses before they came to Australia. So this is a program called Women in Business, which is online, and it's jointly run with the government of New South Wales. So it gives access to all sorts of interesting and relevant parts of actually operating a business. This is everything from how to set one up, all the systems and processes that are needed, where you might go for funding. And as you can see, there are 18 topics here. There are guest speakers, And so if you wanted to participate in this program, again, it's fully subsidized, so no cost at all. And you can build your own program by selecting the topics which are the ones that will support you if you want to either start a business or who are starting or you already have one. So this is where you can find some more information. The email address there is probably really worth noting, because when Ada comes back, and Ada is usually in this role, my colleague, she will also use this email address. So that's tafedigital.multicultural@tafensw.edu.au. That is the email address where you can go straight to information on anything to do with culturally and linguistically diverse communities and learning. And then our specialist website, you can also find a lot more information and drill down into any of those course areas that you may have been interested in seeing. So I'll hand back to Angelica and maybe invite my colleagues Michelle and Michelle to say a few more words about their services. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, and thank you, Angelica. I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Jane. That was excellent. I will pass over now to Michelle Sue and Michelle Lamont, who feel free to share your services that you provide at TAFE, and as well as anything in relation to support for jobs, employment that the counselling services can provide as well.
Thanks, Angelica. Hi, everyone. Yeah, as Angelica mentioned, I'm Michelle Sue and this is Michelle Lamont. We're both from the Counselling and Careers Development Service here at TAFE Digital, and we're in another support service together with Jane, part of the equity team. So yeah, we just want to sort of briefly give you a bit of background about what sort of services we can provide to probably more if you're thinking about studying at TAFE, the prospective students. And then we could also talk about other services that we provide once you're enrolled with us. So I'll pass you over to Michelle first.
Okay, so good afternoon. Thank you for coming along to this afternoon and allowing us to share some information with you. So a couple of the areas that we would work in would be, we would work with prospective students around educational and vocational counselling. So if you're looking at studying, then you could have a one-on-one chat with us, and we could look at things around course choice and course matching for goals you may have for your study. So looking at things like, I guess up front, what are the goals for your study? So looking at a pathway to achieve those goals. And generally having some support available for things like study tips or study skills and motivation sessions, as well as the one-on-one. Generally here we're online study, but I just sort of mentioned across TAFE New South Wales, at local campuses, they will generally have counselling and career services as well. So just depending where you wanted to study, perhaps, depending what was your preferred way of study, you have fairly broad options there as well. Also things like vocational, so specifically looking at the career side of things. So you might be looking at an area that might be of interest to you, or you might not be sure what areas may be of interest to you. So we can refer you to perhaps programs that might identify some job suggestions or shorter quizzes that might come up with some job suggestions based on your own interest and profile on that particular day. So that can sometimes be useful to provide some guidance, or it can sometimes help if you're not sure or you're just wanting a bit of reassurance or validation around choices that can be quite broad out there. In terms of these services also available if people are changing careers or looking for something new, a new direction. In terms of job seeking skills, we would work with enrolled students or students who've recently completed to provide some tips. We're not actually an employment agency, so we don't have actual jobs to refer people to, but we can be like a one-on-one maybe reviewing of resume. The student would usually put their resume together, and if they would like somebody to, have a general view of that before it's sent off, or if they would like some tips around putting cover letters and things together, well, we can certainly help with that. Now, we're not specialists in every area, so of course sometimes we won't necessarily be able to comment on technical aspects of some resumes, but like the general format, second pair of eyes review, opinion, that sort of thing, we can certainly assist there. So I guess that's fairly broad in terms of the vocational side of things. And again, with vocational as well, we might be looking at where's the starting point. Maybe somebody wants to do a degree at university, but they might not have the entry qualifications for that. So there are typical pathways through the TAFE system, the vocational education and training system, into uni. So we can talk about those as well, and perhaps look at a pathway that might be appropriate to get you from point A to point B. And you may not want to go to university then, you might want to do a particular qualification that will allow you to be in the workforce where a TAFE qualification will be sufficient. And we can look at the pathway through that as well. So they're just some broad areas, vocationally and educationally, where we can support students. Yeah. So handing over to my friend Michelle, my colleague Michelle Sue now.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, and I think it's really important, Michelle was saying, sometimes people might be thinking about a particular career pathway and they're not sure what course fits into that. They might have some ideas, and sometimes it's good just to check in, and we are a free service to students or people who are thinking about studying at TAFE. So, it's usually, at the moment, we are doing more phone consultations or phone appointments. But yeah, when things improve, we probably will have some face-to-face as well. And at the colleges, you can drop in and make an appointment to see a counsellor there as well.
And can maybe also you can make phone appointments here. Mm-hmm. So you could ring on our 971584446 number, for example, and Michelle will go into more detail on that.
Yeah, I might put it in the chat before we finish today.
To sort of set up an appointment so that we can make sure that we have sufficient time, because quite often it's not generally a 5-minute conversation, so that we can explore options with people and give them a chance to explore where they're at as well. We'd like to have an appointment set up so we can have that time set aside specifically to talk with you and spend that time with you to allow you some space to work through where you're at and what options you might like to consider.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, and once a student becomes enrolled with us, some other services that counselling career service providers more in relation to things that impact your study, so things that get in the way, so more the personal side of counselling. So that can be related to a health issue, or some things are happening at home with your family, or work-related type things. So, we might not have, as Michelle says, all the answers to everything, but sometimes we might refer you to a service, but we'd initially talk to you and work out some steps, provide some supportive counselling around that first. So just a range of things. So, often people might come and see us if they're struggling with their course and they realise they've had, you know, some time out because of the health issues or, you know, the medical condition. And yeah, as Jane mentioned earlier, we also have the disability support service here. So anyone who has a medical condition or health condition, whether it's physical, mental health, visual, hearing, there's all different supports that can be provided to students that may have some other things that, you know, have got in the way. Yeah, and look at some sort of adjustment to your course that's reasonable to help you, yeah, be successful in completing the course. Yeah. So they're the main things. So the personal counselling usually is more a shorter term thing to get through sort of the issues or whatever is impacting all the challenges that you have. And then often we will refer out to some external services or somewhere closer if you need any ongoing support. Great. Is there anything else to mention?
I guess just that I guess we could mention or should mention that the services are free and confidential.
Yes.
So that nobody has to know whether you've attended counselling or what was discussed in counselling. It's, you know, it is a free and confidential service.
Okay.
Great.
Just put in the chat pad. I'm not sure if there's some questions, but I'm a
Yes.
little further from the monitor, so I'll move a little bit closer.
That's all right. I'm happy to ask the questions for
Sure.
you.
And I'll put in
Thank you.
the chat pad our contact details.
Yes, that would be amazing. Thank you very much. So I'll just start to ask, and there's about several questions that have come through to us directly and on the Q&A section, but I'll start with the first one. So the first question is, does TAFE Digital or the courses, I believe the question is referring to the courses that Jane, you detailed before. So does TAFE Digital or the courses provide resume help if I want to get a job? Do they also all have work experience in them as well?
Okay, so as Michelle and Michelle said, there is an opportunity to run resumes past our counselling team. If we want to focus a little bit more purposefully on resume writing and development, then we have courses where that is quite a big component, and that would include that course that I mentioned earlier for skilled migrants employment program. Work experience, a lot of our courses do have work experience, and there are varying lengths and varying models of that. In some of our courses, our learners need to find their own work experience. In other courses, we are able to support learners in targeting appropriate work experience. So depending on people's preference for study area, then yes, we can look at that and advise as to whether that course has a work experience component or not, and how we might approach making sure that we get one. Yeah. And I guess that would take us to the next question, Angelica, which is about internships. So again, that is probably what we would term as work experience. And of course, you know, TAFE is a very practical form of education and really gives people the skills to go and get a job. So work experience is often a very critical part of a course. And when we say work experience, that's work experience supported by your teachers and supported as part of the learning. So it's a critical element of many courses, and it thoroughly prepares people to go into the workplace. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jane, for that detailed answer. We have a question on visas. So are there visa restrictions to participate in the Women in Business course?
Yes, there would be, and they are the same restrictions as for smart and skilled. So citizens, permanent residents, humanitarian visa holders, and New Zealand citizens. So those are the broad categories. For anybody who is holding any sort of humanitarian visa, please do run it past us, because we can, as you can imagine, and I'm sure you'll be fully aware, it can be quite a complex area, but we can drill down and look at that visa and see if we can support, and wherever possible, we most certainly will.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next question. Do I need to have an Ielts assessment before I can start a course?
No.
No.
No, you don't need to have an Ielts assessment to start a course, but I would give general advice that people really probably need to be round about the 5 to enter one of our general courses. 5.5 Ielts, if Ielts is the familiar level that people know. And I say that because if people don't have functioning English, then they really struggle. We want our learners to succeed, and we don't want people to be struggling. So sometimes it's more strategic to strengthen that English and then go on. So it's generally 5.5 to do our general courses. There are a few courses where we do ask for a higher level of IELTS, but we give that out. But you don't need to turn up with your piece of paper to say I've got IELTS. If you're going into one of our English language courses, then our English language teachers will make an assessment and recommend individually each learner as to where they think they would get the most benefit from starting their course. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I'm going to couple two questions together. The first is, does TAFE, one second. So what if life changes while I'm studying one of your programs? I'm pregnant and due in June 2021. As well as this, does TAFE support childcare?
Well, congratulations. And if we're looking at life changes, that's probably one of the ones way up there, isn't it, as a life change? Yeah.
Certainly.
So TAFE Digital is perfect for anyone who knows that they may be perhaps less, what should we say, less functioning to sit down and do 20 hours of study every week. Yes, of course. So that's where TAFE Digital really can be just fantastic for people in that sort of situation, because we're able to provide a really good long length of time for people to complete their courses. Usually, I say usually, there are a few exceptions, but usually we can be flexible. And we also understand that people's lives change. So you might set off thinking, oh, I'll be able to do this, and this. Something happens, and that we can review that as well. So I think what we want to really say is we want people to be successful learners, and whatever we can do to support that, we will do that.
I might add to that too, Jane.
Yeah.
The other option is, life does get in the way often, but like a lot of other TAFE sort of situations, there is an option to defer your course. So you might find that, and you can defer for up to 12 months usually. So, if you're having your baby in June next year, for example, you might decide, in May or mid-June or something, or early, whenever that you want to take a break. And if you decide to take the 12 months, you can come back earlier, but usually it's a 12-month deferral and you can come back at any time, usually, yeah. So just need to let the teachers or the student services people, so there's a process, forms and things to fill in. But yeah, it can be deferred for 12 months usually. So that gives you a bit of time to spend with the baby and get things settled and then come back to study again when you're ready.
That's extremely reassuring that you guys do offer those services. I'm really glad, and hopefully that is very helpful to the person who did ask this question,
Right.
as well as anyone listening who may be expecting soon and wanting to study with TAFE as well. I'm going to couple two questions together for you. So the first is, for those who have already secured a place of study but need financial support, are you able to link them up with funding bodies or other generous people who may be willing to support international students? As well as this, what is available for people on student visas for subsidy?
So we're talking about international students.
I think so. The focus would be
Yeah.
international students or those who are on student visas.
Yeah, that's a really sort of specialist category of visa, and it has quite a lot of what should we say? I mean, it's a legislative framework, so there are very particular rules about what people can do and not do on international student visas. There is actually, interestingly, some change in discussion about some increasing the flexibility, but I think it has to go through Parliament first because it is an act. And next year we may be in a position to offer more short courses. At the moment, international students are really bound by their visa conditions, so that can be a limiting factor. Could possibly change. We don't know. I mean, I think we've seen so many changes, haven't we, with COVID? You know, we've had to turn quite a few things upside down, and international students is certainly one of those areas which is under review for sure. I don't know if that's really answered that question, and I don't know whether Michelle, you have any further comments on that.
We're not really aware of any additional funding bodies for international students at this stage. Yeah, but as Jane said, things often change. And
Yeah, there are some scholarships for not for the whole amount, but there are some scholarship programs, and TAFE has on its website a page on scholarships that people can look at. And please, you know, if anybody wants to email me directly, I'll still be looking at that email address, by the way, until Ada's back. If anybody has a specific question or a personal question that they don't actually want to voice at the moment, please contact me.
Thank you for that. I just noted that, as you said, that is quite a complex area, especially if you are an international student. One of the things that AWAU can do is connect anyone who may be wanting to know more about conditions relating to their visas, migration as well. We have previously had some excellent migration lawyers and migration agents who facilitated a workshop for us on this area. So AWAU can connect you to those people as well, and we'll provide the contact details for that in our follow-up email to participants as well, if you would like to have more of a discussion about your restrictions before reaching out to TAFE about studying in any courses. So I wanted to just ask about courses in general, because I know you talked about short courses. So in terms of the short courses, what is the typical duration? So are they like 1 week or a weekend? Also, does TAFE offer nursing courses at all?
Well, our short courses can be from a few hours to a few weeks.
months, yep.
Everything. And we have been offering a really extensive program of fee-free courses for those people who are eligible, and those are still up on our website. So if people want to look at that, and just if you Google TAFE New South Wales short courses, that will actually bring up that page that we've got. Or again, if there's something that really specific that you would like to know, please email me or get in touch with Michelle or Michelle.
Yes.
Any of us can help you. Now, nursing, in terms of nursing, I might need a little bit of help from Michelle, if you'll forgive me, because this isn't my particular region, but I know we do aged care at TAFE Digital, and that can be a really good pathway into nursing in general. In TAFE New South Wales, we do have a diploma in nursing. Do we do that here?
No.
No. So in other parts of TAFE, there is a diploma of nursing, which gives enrolled nursing. Now, I should also say that is one of the few course areas where Ielts is required, or a high English level is required. And the reason we ask for that is because the nursing board who gives the accreditation to be a nurse, that's their level. It's not one that we actually impose, but the nursing board requires something like a 7, an IELTS 7. It's a very high level of English. And so we don't think it's fair to provide that course to people who may not have that English, because otherwise they could end up in a situation where they've basically done a course but can't actually practice in that area of employment. So we follow what the nursing board requires. So it is possible certainly to do it with TAFE. And actually one of the fantastic things about that is it then articulates, it's a program pathway into a fully registered nurse program, and we have partnerships with some universities. And because we do the diploma, it actually gives a nursing qualification. So if people then go on to university to complete that registered nurse qualification, they can work while they're at university as a qualified enrolled nurse. So it's a great way to consider anybody who's interested in entering that field.
That sounds fantastic. That's really exciting to hear. Thank you. So I'm going to ask another question and couple them together. So I think our audience is wanting to know, when can they actually start studying? Like, are there specific certain entry times as well? And if they are studying and studying online but don't have the technology to support them, what can they do?
Okay, I might be starting this backwards, but in terms of having the technology to support, as a TAFE Digital student, you're also a student of TAFE New South Wales. So if you go along to your local TAFE campus with evidence of your enrolment with TAFE Digital, you can link in through their student services to their local library, and you can use the facilities at the library. So we're unable to provide you with computing equipment, but as a student of TAFE Digital, you can access the local library facilities, which would generally include computing equipment as well. So if people are thinking about that, they could maybe check out their local facilities and see what options there are there, and just talk with the librarian or talk with the student admin people and just let them know that they are considering study with TAFE Digital. And you know, maybe if you can check out the library, see if that's where you'd be comfortable, and perhaps that could be an option.
We also know of some places where they do sort of refurbish computers and things for a couple $100. So sometimes, you know, that could be an option for students to just, you know, I know it's still a few $100s, but it's probably, yeah, they're probably just as good as I've known staff members actually use it too. Yeah, so probably, you know, obviously a little bit more financially viable compared to a new computer. Yeah, so that could be another option as well. Are you aware of anything else, Jane? Like in terms of, I know some students with disabilities may be able to get a loan for computers, sometimes at TAFE Digital or certain, but they would have, yeah, a health-related issue.
Yeah.
Under that.
Yeah, so if they had a health-related issue and they were linked in with a disability support unit, there may be availability for computing equipment in that instance.
Yeah. But on a loan type
on
situation.
a loan type situation rather than it belonging to the student. But the student would generally be able to use it whilst they were enrolled, of course.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. And just quickly, for enrollment periods, is there a specific enrollment period that's coming up for, or you can students enroll at any point?
Well, for TAFE Digital, I'll speak of first.
Yep.
Generally, you can enrol at any time, just as long as there's vacancies in the courses. So usually the way to tell is if it's on the website, it is available. Usually we have a shutdown around about...
we're going to close down from the 24th of December till the 8th of January. So staff will be coming back, not all staff, but staff will be back on the 11th of January on that Monday. And so we generally have continuous enrolments.
Yes.
So it would be fair to say that over the January period, there probably will be lighter staff available, but staff will be there.
Yep.
So if somebody wants to enrol, they don't have to wait till the beginning of the year or mid-year. They can do as much exploration and research as they need. And when they're ready, they can apply to enrol then.
But in terms of the TAFE colleges, they will have set enrolment periods.
Yes.
And usually... some of them are taking sort of registrations sort of later in the year, but they probably will start classes
Early February?
Yeah, early February, yeah. But also check out all the TAFE colleges as well as TAFE Digital. We'll be running some what we call information sessions or Info Fest. So yeah, there would be times for people to go in and explore courses a bit more. We've got an online option, so maybe we could send that to you, Angelica, if anyone wants to be involved in that. So there'll be some teachers and other sections involved, as well as support services.
That would be fantastic if you could send that through, and I'll be able to send that through to any participants as well who may be interested in that. Just being conscious of the time, we only have 4 questions left, but I'll try to group them. So the first one is, does TAFE do advanced standing for uni or other courses? I started uni in Ghana, but I only did a few units.
Yeah, so one of the features of the Australian vocational education and training system is that we look very closely and carefully at people's existing skills, existing experience and existing qualifications. So then we acknowledge all those elements and then assess where a student should start. And so if people already have those existing skills, experience, etc., then it's not a question of starting, like certificate 1 or 2 and moving through. No, it would be, okay, you've got that qualification, you've had those many years experience, and therefore you might start at diploma or wherever is the relevant part. So I suppose there's basically 2 parts to that. One is the actual qualifications, and we can help with giving advice about how that matches the level of Australian qualification. So that is just a pure match on level. That's all it means. Secondly, we can have a subject matter expert talk to a prospective student, and our subject matter expert teacher would be able to probably fairly quickly just analyze what would be the best step for that student to take. So that's it very basically, but it is a very established feature that we recognize at people's skills, experience and knowledge. Yeah.
That's actually really great to hear. I know for a lot of African women, they come to Australia with those skills already and with that experience and that study behind them. So knowing that, advanced standing is recognized is really great. Thank you. And just the final question, which I'm going to group all these last 3 together. Where does one begin if they need help or support? Who do they go to, especially if English is not if English isn't the first language or is not the best, where can they go to for help? As well as that, what opportunity is there to meet other students? I know COVID has definitely been quite isolating for a lot of people. So is there an opportunity to meet other students in the near future if you are participating in courses on TAFE Digital?
Well, maybe not in a face-to-face sense because we are online, but my understanding is that most courses have some sort of a Facebook page. So there will be interaction with students. I mean, it's not compulsory that you have to be on that either, but if you want to, you can join the Facebook page. The teacher, I think, has to allow you into that. But there has been feedback that that's been quite supportive for people in a remote learning environment, and it's allowed people to get tips and advice from their peers, and the teachers, I think, also may participate from time to time as well. So yeah, we won't have a function where everybody comes and meets, unfortunately, but there is that aspect of it. Also, we have IC sessions, which are general optional sessions that students can attend, and that can be for in terms of counselling and careers. We run motivation and study skills. Other people run referencing. Other people have technology drop-in sessions. So there's a wide range of drop-in sessions that people can come to, and there you'll be in an online environment, but also have the opportunity to have some interaction with the people running the sessions and other students who might be attending.
They also have like a virtual coffee shop, so people can drop in and have a chat.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's different options, and certain teaching sections, I know, like sometimes in the business admin and some of the management ones, they have Adobe Connect sessions, and they're not compulsory and they're usually recorded, but if people want to join those, that's another way to link in virtually as well. Yeah. And some courses, as you know, probably have some pracs. So sometimes if there's prac, there may be some opportunities. It may not be here at Strathfield, but it could be in other places where there might be smaller groupings of people. Yeah.
And of course, at the campus, if you were on campus, I guess there'll be different stages of a connected learning and back to face-to-face traditional classroom learning. But of course, there'll be opportunities for students to, be meeting and greeting each other as well.
Great, thank you. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I myself have learned so much, and I hope that those who have participated in this webinar have learned a lot as well about what TAFE has to offer. And it's really exciting how supportive TAFE Digital is of African women and African migrant women as well, and our experiences and our needs and our desire to be able to continue progressing when it comes to career development. So thank you so much, Jane Anderson, Michelle Sue, and Michelle Lamont. AWAU will provide all resources that TAFE Digital has, as well as contact details as well. So you can get in touch if you have any further questions that you might like to ask our fantastically presenters today. As well, if you're stuck with where to start, they will definitely be a good point of call if you would like to contact them. But I just wanted to again say thank you so much to TAFE Digital for facilitating and asking and answering all of our questions for today.
Thank you.
Angelica, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for organising, and thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
But feel free to call us at any time or email us there.
Thank you. No worries. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.